So guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be covering the top lessons that I've learned after selling full-time for my own company and other companies in the high-ticket sales industry, or just being in sales in general. Spending thousands of hours, selling to prospects, one-on-one, group setting, as well as, thousands of hours that I've spent training, selling, working with mentors. These are going to be the main things that I teach my clients and what I've learned after taking I think it's like 55 plus clients now from 0 to 10K plus a month selling inside this industry. So let's get stuck into it. Lesson number one is inconsistency is usually linked back to lack of process. So a big thing that I'm seeing right now in the industry, which I kind of understand, but I kind of don't, is scriptless selling. And I think the idea behind it is to be more conversational, be more natural, be less salesy, and have overall just a less of a process that you're running off. But here's the problem with that. When you say different words in different tones, in different ways, with different timing, different cadence, with different prospects, when you do this, it's setting yourself up for inconsistent months in full-time sales. And the reason why is because your process is no longer predictable when you are just going off the dome and just saying exactly what you feel in that current point in time. Yes, you can learn reframes. Yes, you can learn certain word tracks, objection handles, certain questions in different ways, probing, clarifying questions. But if at the bottom line, your sales process is custom to each sales prospect and it changes every single time, you're going to find that your sales months, you make 15K one month and then you're going to be 5K the next. And then you're going to be thinking it's you when it technically is you, but it's just the fact that you've changed your process and it's so vastly different to what you've consistently done in the past. And so this is a massive mistake with a lot of clients I work with who are higher earners. I've got guys who earn 10K plus per month all the way up to 40K USD in a single month in commissions. And what separates those guys from the low earners, the high earners, is that they are following a consistent process. So make sure that when you're first learning, but also when you're getting more advanced, you follow a process and you do the same thing every single time. For me personally, I like my sales conversations to be consistent and predictable. I like to know what I'm getting because at the end of the day, what I'm doing is engineering a conversation and creating a vacuum from getting a human to change from where they are now to where they want to be, and ultimately buying my stuff and making a decision that is best for them. And the way that I do that and I make it predictable is I stick to a consistent process. I have a script. I have a word for word process. I have a word for word question by question. And that just makes selling way, way easier. And if you're not doing that, you're setting yourself up for failure. The second lesson here is actually from a mentor of mine that did 1 million in straight commissions in 2020, selling full time in the high ticket sales space. And the statement is this, the lesson is this: objection handling is a fundamentally brilliant understanding of language. And this is a really, really important key lesson because most people, beginners or people who have been in the space for 6 months to a year, are stuck with objection handling because they are doing it around the wrong way. And this is happening because right now, a lot of sales coaches and sales trainers are becoming really popular and getting a lot of traction by posting Instagram reels of them objection handling with fake prospects, by the way. I'm not sure if you knew that, but most of them do fake prospects. And that's why when you go to a call and you say the same thing that you heard on an Instagram reel and it doesn't work, is because you don't understand the tools that you are using. So let me give you an example so we can break this down. So let's say a prospect is scared of spending the money because they've never done that before, and spending $5,000 is a huge purchasing decision and it scares them. And it's just something they've never done. So they're scared of spending the money, okay? Like fear of money, right? Money fear, as we want to classify that as. If we're trying to talk about analogies and reframes about walking around a desert island and pacing away to different mountains, all these type of things, again, if you're new to this space, you may not know what I'm talking about, but if you've been around the space for a decent amount of time, you have an idea. If you're using analogies that don't address the actual root core and concern of what the prospect is saying to you, you're going to end up going nowhere. The prospect's going to tell you they want to think about it. You're going to endlessly loot them, reframe them, try to objection handle them, and you're going to get absolutely nowhere because you don't understand what you are trying to do and you're not actually listening for what the objection actually is at the root core of it. Another thing on top of this as well is I think that a lot of closers really struggle with probing, clarifying, and really getting to the root core of like what the root and concern is. A lot of times prospects will tell you in their languaging, hence I said a brilliant understanding of language. Most closers don't listen for that, but even bridging on top of that, getting better at probing and clarifying and know what to look for when it comes to what the prospect is telling you what their real objection is, that is when you get really good at objection handling. It's not the newest reframe, it's not the newest hack, it's not the newest word track, it's not the newest thing, right? It's just simply understanding what you are dealing with and using the right shape tool for the right size hole. And when you really understand what I just said, that will be absolutely game changing for helping you with your objection handling at the end of your sales calls. The next lesson is what separates good from great salespeople is not just skill, it's your ecosystem. Most sales guys mistake the fact that I'm going to get better, and by getting better, that's the fastest way to make more money. Couldn't be further from the truth. One of my mentors taught me this very early in my career, and if you understand this separates you from being good to great. It takes time to get good at sales itself, right? It's not something that happens overnight. And another quote from a mentor as well is that time takes time. And that's a frustrating thing with sales. It's not an overnight thing, and it takes time to get good. But what can make you more commissions in the short term is, again, not just improvement in skill, but your ecosystem that you bring with you. Are you dialing your no-shows? Are you doing revenue driving activities? Or are you just, pissing about on Instagram reels, scrolling reels? You've probably done that before, right? So have I. But if you want to make more money, you need to be proactive and you need to be a sales professional, not what we like to call as a fat cat high ticket closer, right? You need to actually do your job. Your job is not to just take laydowns and take calls that booked in your calendar. Your job is also to do revenue driving activities for the business you work for. Again, whether that's follow-ups or generating new leads through calling no-shows, calling no sales from the other team, whatever you need to do to make more commissions within that month and make the business more cash and revenue and bring it into the door for the business, that's what you need to do. And when you understand that that is not a skill thing, that is more of a doing thing, that's more of a hard work ethic, a good work ethic thing, you can find that very easily you can separate yourself from the competition in the high ticket sales industry because you are a sales professional and you're representative of that fact and you work hard, right? You don't have to get better to make more money. It can be very much to do with your work ethic and your actual plan in terms of the ecosystem that you bring to the offer that you work. Next one is the objections you give are the ones you get. So as a salesperson, if you're starting out in this industry or you've been in sales a long time now, you really should know. If you don't know already, this is why I'm telling you now. The objections you give is the objections that you get. And sales is a mirror. So you need to show up in every single facet in every single area. If you're not going to the gym and keeping yourself accountable, if you're saying that you're going to go to the gym and you keep telling yourself that you're going to start Monday, every good diet starts on Monday, right? If you keep telling yourself that, you will accept that from your prospects. But if you show up with a different level of standard and a different level of congruence in yourself, you will keep your prospects to that high level of standard. You show up differently, you act differently, your tone sounds different, you sound more confident, you sound more certain. When you are able to get over your own objections, that is when you absolutely blast through your prospects. And if you're hopping on sales calls telling people you want to think about it, that you don't want to spend the money, it's too expensive, you want to talk to your partner, all these types of things, you're going to get those objections on calls and you won't be able to handle it because you accept them yourself. So in order to get better objections, it's not just the word tracks, it's not just understanding language like we spoke about, but it's also being the person that you want your prospect to show up as on your sales call. And when you do that, when you have a different level of standard for yourself, you will see a drastic improvement in your performance in the sales you make. The next lesson on the list is that time takes time. I think this is a quote from Buddha, by the way, and I heard it from my mentor, which is that the frustrating thing about sales is that most people try to become the next sales savant overnight. They try to become like their sales trainer, their sales mentor, and they try to be absolutely the best in the world at sales in 30, 60, 90 days or 6 months. You have to understand that getting good at sales takes time, and that's the painful part of it. And the sooner you realize it, you have a lot less pressure on yourself and probably stop buying infinite amounts of sales training that you probably don't need, which is a big thing that salespeople do in our industry, which is high ticket sales. Very common trend, which I did myself, which was by sales training after sales training when I didn't need it at all, you've got to understand that it just takes time to get good at something with any skill that you do. And sales as a skill has thousands of data points that you can get better at. It's 1% better each day, right? That's all you need to focus on. Do your call recordings, do your call reviews, right? Get coaching, get feedback from your mentor that you're working with. Role play, practice, do the hard stuff, and you will get 1% better each day. But understand, you are not going to be a sales savant at this overnight. It's ridiculous to even think that way. But I feel like most sales reps coming into this industry, whether you're starting around or you're experienced somewhat, feel like that it's going to just happen overnight and you're just going to be the best, right? Very far from the truth. Have an expectation and allow yourself, take off the pressure, understand that it takes time to get good at sales. Not forever, but it takes repetition and it takes practice. So understand that you don't need to get good at sales overnight. I wish I knew that, 5-6 years ago. And the last one on this list is that you've probably heard this if you've been watching the YouTube channel at least once before, is you will only make the scale of income according to your opportunity. I just came off a podcast with one of my clients, Reese. This interview might be up by now or it might not be, but we're just talking about how yesterday, he made his highest amount in commissions in a day, which was like 5.5k Australian commissions in a singular day as a 22-year-old. Now, we're reflecting on his journey from, our last interview, which was 12 months ago, where he made his first 10k a month, to now his highest month was like 55k Australian plus in commissions, and he averages between 30 and 40k Australian a month every single month. And the only thing that changed and that made him be able to make that type of money, probably working pretty much the same as he was before, was the opportunity that he was on. And this goes for traditional sales, this goes for any sales for that matter, but particularly high ticket sales, what I'm talking about here. Your opportunity will dictate how much money you make. And so focusing on that skill itself, how you screen offers, how you get interviews, how well you conduct yourself on interviews, how you show up, how you prepare for them, how you get those interviews in the first place, intentionally having a strategy about the companies you work for. The reason I see most salespeople not make the money they want to make is not for the lack of skill, but is for the opportunity and the vehicle that they're in. If you're rowing really hard right now and not making the money you want to make and you're struggling, you're seeing guys make 10, 15, 20K plus a month right now in the high ticket sales industry, usually they're not a lot better than you. And I've seen this time and time and time again with clients. Guys who make 40K US a month plus, or even 45 is probably more accurate. The only thing that separates them from you is usually not your skill level. It's usually just the hours they're working, right? Or the fact that they're on a better opportunity. It's usually the latter. So the two of these here as well. So the more you focus on that as a skill and you make a priority, inevitably you will make more money. And it's not to say that you can skimp out on your sales skill, but the better you get at opportunity acquisition or offer acquisition, ultimately the more money you'll make as a byproduct. And I can attest to that with the amount of clients I've worked with and through my own personal experience. So guys, there you have it. There are some of my top lessons from selling in this industry for a long time now. If you really take what I said on board and just don't treat this as a piece of free information on the YouTube channel and actually value it as something that you've paid for, trust me, these lessons will go a super long way. So hopefully you found it valuable, hopefully you found it helpful. If you did, like the video so I know that you actually enjoyed it, not for the algorithm, but just to show me that you like this type of content. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.